All right, guys, so today's notes are going to be on exponents and PEMDAS, also known as order of operations. All right, so let's talk about exponents. An exponent, if you look at this number here, okay, an exponent is going to be this number in the top right-hand corner of the 5. All right, that is what we will call an exponent. What an exponent does is it tells us how many times to multiply the base. So because I have a 2 there, okay, this is telling me to multiply 5 twice. So that's why I have here for my factors, I have 5 times 5. It's not 5 times 2, okay, it's 5 times 5. Now, there's also a specific way to say exponents. All right, so for exponents, we have for the 2, it is going to be squared, or you can say to the second power. For a 3, we have cubed, or you can say to the third power. Anything after that, you're just going to say to the blank power. So if I want to talk about this right here, I would say that is x to the 6th power. Now I do want to point out, well, Miss Davis, what if you have 5 to the 1st power? Well, if we have 5 to the 1st power, that is just the same thing as me writing 5. So we're not going to use that. So our exponents are going to start with 2 or greater. All right, now before we look at these examples, let's talk about these words here. Exponential notation and expanded notation. Exponential is going to refer to these examples here, okay, where we are using exponents. Expanded notation is going to refer to these examples here, where we have the numbers written out. So expanded gets bigger and bigger. So now let's match these up. You want to take a moment and match the exponential notation to the expanded notation. So go ahead and pause your video. Now, 2 to the 4th power is the same as me writing out 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 9 to the 3rd power is the same as me writing 9 times 9 times 9. And 6 squared is the same as me writing 6 times 6. Now, what I want you to do is pause your video, and now I want you to solve. My advice is to write this in expanded notation first, then solve. All right, hopefully you took the time to pause the video and work these examples out on your own. So 3 cubed, also known as 3 to the 3rd power. I want to write this in expanded notation first. So that would be 3 times 3 times 3. So now I need to solve. Well, start by multiplying your first two numbers. 3 times 3 gives me 9. And I'm going to mark those off because I'm already done. Now I need to multiply that product by what's left over. So 9 times 3 gives me 27. So 3 cubed equals 27. Now let's take a look at 7 squared. This is the same as writing 7 times 7. And when I multiply those two numbers together, I should get 49. And last, 2 to the 5th power. This is the same as writing 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So if I go through and multiply, 2 times 2 is 4, mark those off. Times 2 is 8, mark those off. times 2 is 16. Mark those off. Times 2 gives me 32. Now I have a challenge for you. I want you to try and figure out -2 to the 5th power. Go ahead and pause the video and try that on your own. All right, so if I wanted to write this in expanded notation, I see that -2 is written out 5 times. Well, now I'm going to do the same process and start multiplying. However, you're going to want to remember your integer goblin so we don't get confused. So if I do -2 times -2, negative times negative gives me a positive. Done with those. Now I have a positive times a negative, so my answer will be a -8. Same thing, negative times a negative gives me a positive. Done with those. And a positive times a negative gives me a negative. So my final answer should be -32. Now here's a quick trick you can use if you happen to have a negative number inside your parentheses with an exponent. Take a look at that exponent. If it is an odd number, your answer will be negative. If it's an even number, your final answer will be positive. Now remember, this is only when you have a negative in the parentheses. Now let's talk about order of operations. For the most part, this should be a review from 5th grade, except we're adding in exponents this time. Now, here at Tejada, we will use PEMDAS. Some of you may have learned in elementary, you may have used GEMDAS, okay? Know that it's the exact same thing. The only difference is the first letter. All right, so remember, PEMDAS stands for parentheses, which parentheses also include brackets. The E stands for exponents. M is to multiply. D is divide. A is add, and S is subtract. Now, something we need to make note of, and that's very important, is our multiply, divide, and then add and subtract step. If you have a problem where division comes before the multiplication, remember you have to divide first. And the reason is, when we get to that step, you need to work from left to right. Same thing for addition, subtraction. You have to work from left to right. Now, here are our expectations for solving an order of operations problem. You need to write out PEMDAS, or if you prefer GEMDAS, that's fine. So write that off somewhere to the side. All right, now we can look at the problem. Do I have parentheses? Well, I sure do. So I need to focus on my parentheses first. Now remember, if we go back to our previous slide, okay, when we are inside parentheses and brackets, always follow order of operations. So I still need to follow this process inside our parentheses. So I want to focus on this exponents, 4 squared. So I know 4 squared is the same as 4 times 4. And that's going to give me 16. So now I have 25 minus parentheses, 16 plus 1. Now I can go ahead and add in my parentheses. So now I have 25 minus 17. You don't want to drop the parentheses until you have a single number left inside. Take care of my exponents. I don't have multiplication or division. Now I see that I have subtraction. All I have to do is subtract, and I get 8 as my answer. So our expectations for order of operations problem. You need to write PEMDAS over off to the side and show your steps, okay? I did not do this all in my head. I went through and wrote down every single step. So that way, if we need to help you with a problem, we can look at your work and see what's going on. If you try and do it all in your head, we're not going to be able to help you. All right, so go ahead and pause the video and let's try this one on your own, and we'll see if your work matches up with mine. All right, so I want you to go ahead and check your work with mine. So I see we had parentheses, so that's why I subtracted 10 minus 7 and I got 3, and I rewrote the problem. Then I see I have exponents, so I know 8 squared is the same as 8 times 8, which gives me 64, and rewrote the problem. Since division came first, okay, I'm going to divide, which gives me 32, and I rewrote the problem. Now I can do multiplication. 4 times 3 is 12, and I rewrote the problem. And now I just add, and I should have gotten 44 for my final answer. All right, once again, I want you to pause the video and try this problem on your own. Couple things you'll need. You'll need your integer goblin, and you may want to refer to your combining integer notes. All right, so what I've noticed in class is we get this first step right. We see a negative times a positive, and we have a negative, so negative 70. What is giving us issues is this right here, the minus 15, okay? Remember, I can't turn this into a plus unless there is another negative right here. So if you got negative 55 as your answer, that's what you were trying to do. I can't do a model because this is not addition. So our advice would be to draw your circles. Okay, now when I do this, all right, it looks a little different. It looks like they both have the same signs. And since they have the same sign, I'm going to find the sum. So that means I need to add 70 plus 15, which gives me 85. And since they're both negatives, I'm going to add my negative sign there, and I get negative 85 as my final answer. All right, go ahead and try this problem on your own. Pause the video, and we'll see if your work matches with mine. All right, so let's see how you did on this problem. So if I look, I have parentheses, and inside the parentheses, I have exponents. Well, 2 to the third is the same as 2 times 2 times 2, which gives me 8. So I'm going to rewrite this as 20 minus 8 plus 3. Now I can continue working in the parentheses. So I'm going to add 8 plus 3 gives me 11. So I'm going to rewrite this as 20 minus 11. And I should get for my final answer 9. This one, what people are having trouble with is remembering our exponents there. All right, this is the last problem that I want you to try on your own. And once again, pause the video and we'll see how we did. All right, so I see that I have parentheses. So I'm going to have to subtract 3 minus 1, which gives me 2. And I'm going to rewrite my problem. Now I have exponents, so I need to rewrite this. So I know this is the same as 5 times 5 times 5, which gives me 125. Now I'm on my multiply divide step. I see division comes first, so I'm going to do that first. So 125 divided by 5 gives me 25. Now I can multiply. 3 times 2 is 6. And I can do my final step and add, so my final answer will be 31. So the big thing about order of operations is just practicing, okay? Um, and remembering how exponents work. That's going to be the main issue. It's going to be your exponents. I would say exponents and then working left to right when we have division, multiplication, or addition and subtraction. So now let's take a look at what your homework is going to be for today. All right, so for your homework, you're going to want to head on over to Google Classroom, click underneath classwork, okay, and you'll scroll down and you'll see we are on week 3 right now. If you click on your Google form, please remember to take your time on this. You'll see we have problems about exponents, order of operations. Please read carefully. I'm not asking you to solve on these problems. We're asking you what are the steps to the problem. These you're being asked to solve. And this one you're trying to figure out which expression equals negative 32. So this homework assignment is due on the next day we meet, okay? Please use your notes. And if you have any questions, reach out to your teacher.